Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Shenla and this is the first video in our free beauty retouching tutorial course right here on YouTube. This is the first video, and in this video we'll be treating raw image processing. As you can see, I have two files in this folder. One is a CR3 file, that's a raw file, and one is a JPEG. They are actually the same image, just that I captured it in both JPEG and RAW. Now for the JPEG, it means that our camera has already done the raw image processing for us. However, as photographers, sometimes we are not satisfied with what the camera provides us, and we would like to modify the image to suit our own preferences. In that case, shooting raw becomes advantageous because it allows you to do that. So I'm just going to open this raw file in Photoshop. And as you can see, the image is opened in our camera raw editor. This is version 14.2. So you can see that the image looks slightly different from a JPEG, and that's because this is a raw file which contains much more information. So I'm coming to do our raw image processing, and there's just a few things I want you to note. This is our histogram right here, and you can see we have the shadows towards the left, the blacks towards the far left, shadows, midtones, highlights, and our whites at the right edge here. All right, and when you hover the mouse on any part of the image, you would see the color values, the RGB color values indicated right here. I just want you guys to take note of that. Now, the first thing I'll be doing for our raw image processing is assigning a color profile. Color profiles are a great starting point to editing your image. They are sort of like presets that you can use as a good starting point if you do not want to over edit your image. I'm just going to click this icon to browse profiles, and I want to pick the camera matching profiles. As you can see, the software already knows which camera I used to capture the image. That's it right here, as well as the camera settings I used are right here. If you want to see how we shot this image, I'll put a link to a video in the description to show you how we shot this image. These are some camera matching profiles, and my favorite profile is just the camera faithful. I'm just going to select camera faithful and I'll click back. And the next thing I want to do is the basic adjustments. So the first thing in the basic adjustments, as you can see, is the white balance. You can see a bunch of presets here. This is a shot, so this is how I selected the white balance in the camera when I was shooting. There's also the white balance picker tool that you can use to sample a neutral area. That's a neutral like gray or white portion of the image. However, because I don't have a neutral portion in this image, I'm just going to input a custom white balance, and I'll put 5400 and click enter. So that's the white balance I'll be setting. Now I'm just coming to do some basic adjustments. I would like to increase the shadows slightly, not too much, and then maybe increase the highlights a little bit. Let me see, I want to pull back the blacks just a little bit and bring up the whites. I won't touch the contrast slider, and then just the overall exposure, maybe plus 0.5. So those are our basic adjustments. So this is the before the basic adjustments, and this is after the basic adjustments. and this is before the overall adjustments we've done, including the color profile, and this is after. The next thing I want to do is come to my detail. I will not use the curves adjustments because I don't want to at this point. I'll do it in the color grading section of this video in the Photoshop software itself. So the next thing I want to do is the details section. So I'll click down here. The default sharpening is 40. I'm just going to increase that to 50. And then the next thing I'll do is the color mixer, and this is an important section in this video. So under the color mixer tab, we have the hue, we have saturation, we have luminance, and we have all. I'll be working in all so that you can see all the various sections. That's the hue section, the saturation section, and the luminance section. Under each section, we have a bunch of sliders, and we have names of colors associated with those sliders. So reds, oranges, yellows, greens, aquas, blues, purples, and magentas. And we have it for the hue, saturation, and luminance. Basically, what this does is when I shift, let's say, this orange slider towards the right, it means that I'm shifting the oranges in these colors towards the reds or the color before. And if I shift it towards, that's towards the left. And if I shift it towards the right, and I'm shifting the oranges in this image towards the yellows. I'm just going to double click to reset that. For reds, if I shift it towards the right, the reds are going towards magenta. And if I shift them towards the left, they are going towards magenta. And if I shift them towards the right, they are going towards oranges. That's for the hue section. For the saturation, you are controlling the amount of saturation in those individual colors. For this image. So if I take the oranges, I can increase the saturation of the oranges, and I can decrease the saturation of the oranges. I can do same for reds. As you can see, it's only affecting the reds, and set that up to the default. And let's see magentas. In the lip area, you can see a slight change. That means there's some magentas there. For luminance, it's a similar concept, just you are increasing the brightness or darkness of the image. So if I take the oranges down, they get darker, and if I move it towards the right hand side, they get brighter for the oranges. And you can do that for the reds as well. So this is a very good tool to modify the individual colors in your image. The main thing I'll be working on is the skin tones in the image. I want to unify them a little bit, and I want to change how they look a little bit. So as you can see, majority of the skin tones and even the background is in the oranges range. So what I'm going to do first of all is, there are some reds there. There are a little reds in her face. You can see that. Or let me show you with the saturation slider. There are some reds there. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to shift those reds slightly towards orange. Also, there are some yellows in the skin. I'm just going to shift those yellows slightly towards orange. That's for the hue. Then for the saturation, I just want to decrease the saturation a little bit. Decreasing the saturation also gives an impression of making the color look lighter or brighter, even though you are not actually changing the luminance value. Decreasing the saturation makes it look slightly brighter, and that's the effect I want. I'm coming to do it for the reds, the oranges, and the yellows. And the luminance, I just want to increase the luminance just slightly of those colors, not too much. just slightly, so you can see those effects there. I'm just going to show you a before. This is a before and this after. You can see it has slightly lighter skin tones, and that's just how I like it. So the next thing is the color grading. I won't actually be applying the color grading effects. I just want to explain how it is. So basically, you want to apply a color cast to the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows of this image. You can select them individually and work on them, work on the blending, the balance. So this the shadows, this the midtones, this the highlights, and click that. And then this global, if you want to apply a color cast to all three sections. So in case, let's say you want the shadows to be slightly magenta, I'm just going to modify that, and then you want the highlights to be orange, you can do that. However, I'm not going to be doing any of that, so I'm just going to double click and double click, and that's it. So with the optics, you can make adjustments to your lens profile corrections if you have any distortions. By default, I have them on. I'm not going to touch them. I'm not going to apply any geometry. I'm not going to skew the image horizontal or vertical. I'm not going to do any of that because I think I shot the image correctly. So I'm not going to do any geometry adjustments. All right. So for the effects, we have grain and vignette, and if you want to darken or brighten the outer part of the image or add a bit of grain to the image, you can see that I'm not going to do any of that for this image. And we also have the calibration, where you can adjust the reds, blues, and greens, and also the tints of the image, but I'm not going to do any of that. The last thing I want to talk about before opening the image in Photoshop is this section right here. When you click the bottom and you come to the workflow panel, you can select your color space, and I would advise you use Adobe RGB. In your bit depth, I would advise you use 16 bits per channel, because throughout the retouching process, we'll be applying a lot of adjustment filters, and working with 16 bits per channel helps you to preserve the integrity of your image so that you don't have any banding of any sort. I'm just going to click OK, and I'll click open, and this should open our image in Photoshop. So you can see it right there. That's our raw image processed photo. Now I'm coming to put in the camera JPEG. I'm going to say place embedded, and this is our JPEG. I'm coming to place our JPEG. Yes. So you can see this is the camera's raw image processed photo, and this is ours, the camera's ours. And then just to show you the difference between a non-raw image processed photo, I'm coming to place this image, the raw image, without any processing. So when I click it, it's going to open the camera raw filter. I'm just going to click the defaults. So I clicked here to go back to the default, no raw image processing, and I click OK. So this is, I'm going to rename it raw image. And then this is camera JPEG, and then this is our raw image. The background is our raw image processed. So I'm just going to turn off the camera JPEG so I can show you. This is our raw image processing, and this is non-processed, and this is the camera's JPEG. That's the camera with the camera's processing. So this is how I want the image to work with. So I'm just going to click File and Save, and I'm saving it in our folder. And I'm going to say Retouching tutorial by 2030 photos. You can name it however you want. I think I made a mistake with the retouching, and I'm just going to click Save, and that should save our image. That's it for this video. In the next video, in the next chapter of our retouching, we'll be doing skin healing, eye healing, and hair healing. Those are some of the things you want to deal with before we actually get to the main retouching process. So subscribe if you haven't, drop a like on this video, turn on notifications to know when that video drops. Stay safe, and I'll catch you later. Bye.